Here he is again, Daryl Brooks. This is Anwar of Anwar's Reflections. So Daryl, I understand you were involved in a nonviolent summit this past weekend at the Quaker Friends House. Well, can you tell us more about that summit?
Yes, we have a summit here at the Quaker House. It started about 3 o'clock. And there were some people from Rhode Island came down, Jonathan, Kelly, and another friend. They were nonviolent specialists that came to the summit. It started about 3:30, ended about 6:30.
Okay.
It was a pretty good summit. We enjoyed ourselves. They talked about some of the issues that how can they stop violence in our cities, in schools, from all the way from elementary to high school to the parents. I think it was a successful summit.
Okay. And what was the motivation behind doing that?
Well, I think that people are crying out for something to deal with the violence, and the summit was that.
Okay.
They showed us ways how to deal with violence and the tactics on dealing with violence in our school system.
Okay.
They showed us some of the past summits that they have in some other schools. There were high schools in Chicago, charter schools, and exactly how do we deal with the violence that took place, how they deal with the violence, and they talked about all around the world, and prisons right in South America and California.
What do you think made this summit different from the prayer vigils and the marches and other rallies?
Well, it's a summit where they had of substance.
Okay.
They talked about ideas, not about rallying and hollering and protesters and singing as the last protesters on the rallies they were doing across the city.
Okay.
There was something that people can grab onto and say, well, it works. I'm just disappointed that we didn't have the community leaders that showed up. Now, there was 2 community leaders. Councilwoman Catherine McBride showed up and her son, and there was Pat Hall, who's supposed to be running for mayor in 2014. But that's it. So it was a summit. It showed how nonviolence can work, and tactics, and solutions. I think that's what it showed, the solutions to nonviolence, to the violence in our cities and our schools.
But you said there wasn't enough representation from city council?
No, I mean, you get 1 city council member show, about 7, I believe. Okay. There was nobody from the north, east, west, south ward at large. And it was difficult because there was something that people can take home with them, and council people can take with them, and people from the school board should have been there. And everybody knew about it. But I guess we wasn't marching or celebrating or dancing, all that other stuff that actually doesn't stop violence in our schools, in our city.
Did you notice any community activists there?
No, I mean, I guess, I'm a community activist, so I was there. You don't mind me eating a hot dog. I mean, I want to really eat this hot dog, but I can talk about some of these issues. There's nothing wrong with that, though. So, this is a good hot dog. It's from, 7-Eleven hot dog.
Okay, what do you got on there?
I got ketchup, mustard, and onions.
Okay.
But, when people go to City Hall, they're in the newspaper, all these community leaders. I'm gonna put them all out in front. There was no Zachary Chester, he knew about it. No Marge Caldwell, she knew about it. Phyllis Holly Ward, she knew about it. Even Alex Bethea, individuals especially that want to deal with the problems in our inner city. There was no Andrew Bobbitt. There was none of the other groups that marched and they was at City Hall. Where's C Hope? Where are all the other ones that came out and marched and got them? I'm just upset with where's Tracy Sypad? All these groups that concerned about the city, who come out and protest and march and offer people no solutions. And but they're concerned with violence. Even the lady, she's a former police sergeant, I can't think of her name, Carol. She's supposed to say, well, we got all these problems, we need a solution, we need a solution. Well, we had a solution. but no one showed up. And the idea is, do they really take understanding violence really? You know, do they really understand what's happening? You know, are they really concerned with stopping the violence? And you know, a lot of these people, they come out, they protest, they make a little speech, but when it's time for putting in work and solutions, they don't show up. Why you didn't show up?
But what are the next steps, though, Daryl? I mean, you know, will there be other summits, or what do you and other community members plan to do to keep the momentum going to address this issue?
Well, one of the things is that we're planning, yourself and the other ones, we're planning the Martin Luther King Week, where we're going to come back, have a 2-day class in the city of Trenton. We're doing a Martin Luther King Week, a week of festivities. But I just want to say, as an activist, been in the city for over 20-some years being an activist, I have seen more violence, shooting in schools, young girls cutting themselves up, using knives, and young brothers fighting in the middle of the street. It's disappointing, and all these other groups want to do is call the officers, call in the prosecutors, and we're going to bring the prosecutors together. We're going to bring school boards together. We're going to bring all these people together to deal with this, but they offer no solutions, and that's what bothers me. How serious do you really? How serious are you to dealing with this problem?
But you're playing devil's advocate. The flip side of it, I mean, some people would say that nonviolence education may not really be effective. When a lot of young people or people in general are really so set in their ways.
They're set in their ways, but what do they have to offer these young kids? What real programs that they offer is, once again, play basketball or have some fun, have a dance. That's all they offer. They have offered Andrew Bobbitt and Trenton Team. You got to understand this. You got all these dignitaries on Trenton Team. They have not offered the parents and the kids anything. And what bothers me is that these parents come out whose kids have died in the streets. We're up to 19, 20 murders now by gun violence, but there's also the violence that happens in schools, fighting, and they don't offer them anything solution. I see parents are crying on stage, and they look to these individuals for leadership. And these individuals, I'm putting that Andrew Bobbitt and Team Trenton, have not offered the community leaders or parents anything, or kids anything in the street, but set a party or have a good time. And that bothers me. Last week they had something at City Hall. And it's wanted the kids, they have a march and have everything at City Hall and sing and stop the violence. But they don't offer the community anything. And the parents should have been at this thing. But once again, the leadership, if Andrew Bobbitt and the Team Trenton and all the other ones don't promote it, then they're not going to come out. Something is wrong with this picture. Something has always been wrong with this picture. They are failure. I'm just to the point. There are weak leaders. They need to sit down and let other people who bring ideas, bring solutions to the table. And it bothered me, because they were told about this. They received emails. There was stuff that other people put on Facebook. I even called Bobbitt and some of the Trenton leaders. Here's a flyer. Come out to this event. This is a solution. Freedom. Freedom Green. I told him about it. He's like, oh, nonviolence doesn't work. Well, how nonviolence doesn't work if you haven't seen it? I mean, this is the mindset, the ignorance of mindset. And they're ignorant. And I feel bad when the parents should listen to this video, because the parents would come out, you go to these individuals, they know nothing. They have brought no solutions, no real program. All they have brought is a march and protest. Let's march at City Hall. Let's march around the streets. And what exactly is that going to do? It was so disappointing. After this summit, right on Hanover, Montgomery, there was a riot. There were about 150 kids. They weren't high school kids. These kids was in junior high school and elementary schools. They were fighting. Girls had knives, some had bats. It looked like it was